Hey guys, and welcome back to the Movie Club Emporium. And this week we are talking about one of the other kind of low budget, but super anticipated horror movies of the year. Since I very first heard about it, the new Os Perkins movie, Longlegs. So going back to seeing the first images of the teasers movie, there's like, oh, Osgood Perkins, son of the late great Anthony Perkins, who I've really enjoyed all three of his movies. I like The Black Coat's Daughter a lot. I'm the Pretty Thing in the House. Thought it was really good because it kind of came out of nowhere on Netflix. And then for one, I loved Gretel and Hansel. Um, Taking a well-known story like that, paying homage to a lot of the like 70s witchy movies, 60s and 70s, like stuff from Bava, Argento, but also pulling a lot of imagery from Jodorowsky. I really love that movie. That was fantastic. And so to hear like, oh, he's got a new movie coming out. It stars Mike Monroe from The Guest and It Follows. Uh, Watchers that was not come out last year, I think, on Netflix. It was really really good. And Nicolas Cage. So already tickets sold, and then you're gonna tell me that Nicolas Cage is playing a serial killer, and we're keeping him completely under wraps until the movie comes out. I was ready, absolutely ready. And then of course, like the internet does, whether it's YouTubers or TikTok, uh, this is the scariest movie of all time. There hasn't been a scarier movie. This is basically the second coming of Silence of the Lambs. This is the scariest movie ever made, guys. Scariest movie. And so hype and hype and hype, which is something we've talked about a lot on this channel. Uh, Maybe not so much on the channel, but especially on our lives that we do. Where movies that hype doesn't really affect me that much. I don't get disappointed if a movie doesn't live up quite to the hype that has been built around it, because I kind of want to go into it. I want my hype. Now, am I excited to hear like, oh, it's super scary? I mean, hell yeah, but it's not like it's not gonna ruin the movie for me. Um, but I know like Nick and I talked about that was a lot of his problems with both Barbarian and Talk to Me, both of which I really liked a lot more than he did. Um, is that they were so overhyped. And so going into this movie and then seeing all of that, and then of course there's the inevitable, the movie wasn't that good, bro. Like it wasn't good. It's scary. It wasn't scary at all. Um, I will say that, as far as my experience with Longlegs, and yes, I realize that I've waited this long, I think, before I've actually said the title of the movie we're reviewing, because again, professional. Longlegs. Um, I really dug it a lot. Um, I went with a friend who used to do some of our old videos way back when on Facebook, and would call podcast episodes. Tristan and I went. Hadn't been to the movies together in a long time, and we both really enjoyed it. Now, walking out of the movie, was it the scariest movie ever made? No, but rarely anything is. You know, horror movies are subjective. One of the scariest horror movies for you might be The Exorcist. One of the scariest movies for me might be Arachnophobia, because I don't like spiders. Like it varies. Um, but I really dug this movie. I I don't. This is spoiler free, by the way. I'm gonna go as spoiler free as I absolutely can, because I don't want to ruin it. And the marketing for this movie has been pitch perfect and not ruining anything. I'm not gonna ruin it for anybody. Um, but we both thoroughly enjoyed it. This I think is a fantastic modern entry into a genre that I love. With when uh way back when Nick and I did a live of our favorite kind of forgotten 90s thrillers. Man, the late 90s in the wake of Seven, the late 90s, early 2000s were like the hotbed for these like serial killer and detective movies. Um, and this is up there in that upper echelon. I put it up there again with movies like Seven, but also ones people don't talk about, like some really dark ones. The Bone Collector, which is a super dark one. I know people make fun of it because it's an Angelina Jolie movie, but I think it works perfectly. Taking Lives. A fun one that nobody talks about is Bone Daddy, which is probably one of the most horrific. I when you think about it, horrific things is the serial killer who doesn't kill you, who he kidnaps you and takes bones out of your body, and that's rough. I don't know what that was. Hello, thumbs up. Um, I that's weird, but no, I think it's a great entry into that genre of hunting down a serial killer movie. A Silence of the Lambs is one of my personal favorites. Manhunter, I think, is the best. Hot take, that's the best Hannibal Lecter movie. I know, I know, I know. But it's late at night. We're talking about it, so let's just be real. Uh, Nicolas Cage in this movie is fantastic. He rides the fine line of I wanted more Nicolas Cage, and yet, because he's so like he is a character in this movie, while also being thoroughly Nicolas Cage. But he has some downright terrifying moments. Like, I mean that I'm of course facetiously. I immediately go back on what I said, but he is honestly mostly one of the most unnerving parts of this movie. He's in it very little, but when he's in it, man, it is whew, his look and everything. There's a reason they're keeping him hidden, and he looks fantastic. Um, but he's great. Micah Monroe is absolutely phenomenal as she is in everything. Huge shout out to this movie not telling me, and this isn't really a spoiler because you can look this up on IMDb. I think it's out by now. For Alicia Witt, who is an actress I've loved since the '84 Dune. Um, and she was on I used to have a huge crush on her in movies like Bong Water and Urban Legend. That is a movie I've talked about in a long time. Bong Water. Um, she pops up in this movie and oh man, she steals everything she's in, every scene she's in. This movie is so much fun. This movie does everything. Like it just, especially if you're into this genre, it wraps you in this warm like blanket, and it's just like, hey, you and me, we're gonna have nightmares tonight. Are you ready? Because this movie does have a lot of disturbing imagery in it, and it surprisingly, it was a huge surprise. And again, spoiler free. There are some twists in this film and directions this film takes. I was not expecting. Whether it's with what you actually are, how far we go with some of the gore of the movie. There's a scene in particular where I'm just sitting there going, where are we going? I don't know if I'm comfortable with where this might be going. Are we going to go there? Um, and it teases you kind of like going, no, and then you get just enough to be utterly like, oh, and then because to me that's the best thing this movie does. It's not the scariest movie ever made. There's no scar, but he brilliantly crafts the atmosphere of this movie to where if somebody's talking in the foreground, you're looking in the background of the doorway into the other doorway that's across the room of that doorway because it's dark in there and you can't see. And he has you so terrified of what could possibly come out of that darkness that like you're on edge for it, and there's no like jump scares. Uh, I will say that the opening of this movie, the very beginning of it, is truly terrifying in the way it's shot, in its subject matter, and the reveal. It's because it's our first kind of reveal of Nick Cage, like into this like stinging great gore that runs throughout the movie to the title. Like I was hooked. Um, and then you do get these really great musical cues and things. It's a play of the '90s, but it feels very '70s. Like it just again, it's just if you're into this genre of movies, of detective, agent, whatever, hunting this serial killer and things kind of go in weird, crazy ways, you're gonna love this because it does all that, and then also does things to that will surprise you that maybe you weren't expecting a movie like this to do, but it worked. Because it goes in some directions where I honestly did not expect the movie to go, and yet I was like, it felt natural. Um, but yeah, so I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed Longlegs. I think it's fantastic. I think people should go see it. I was so happy. We still had to drive like 45 minutes to a theater playing it, which was better than we thought because when Maxine popped up at this particular theater, after I thought I was gonna have to go like an hour and a half, I was like, great, I'm so happy to see Maxine here. There's no way they're gonna get Longlegs. I'm gonna have to go the full hour and a half to be able to see it. And then when they got it, I was ecstatic. So I was so happy that they got it. I'm so glad we went to go see it. Go support weird stuff like this because horror is having a year, especially horror is having a summer, man. I mean, between this and again, like Maxine, you have some other stuff coming out. Now there is some stuff that we've seen trailers for. That new speaking of summer, a new M Night Shyamalan movie's coming out, Trap. But there's been some stuff where I'm just like, that's January, son. But I think horror's had a pretty good year and we've on a pretty good run. Um, I was so glad to get the 1-2 punch of this and Maxine so much. I think this movie is great. Um, it's definitely maybe it's up there. Like I still hold. I don't know. This might be my favorite Perkins Osgood movie. Because again, I love Gretel and Hansel because of so you could see so much of the influence of that movie while also taking the Gretel and Hansel story and making it his own and original. Much like this, this is one of those movies. This is a Silence of the Lamb movie. This is Mindhunter, whatever. Um, of those movies, but with his twist on it, his take on it, wholly original. But very familiar. I cannot recommend it enough. Go see Longlegs. So that is going to wrap up this review. And again, I guess I got to do all that YouTube and stuff. If you like this review, if you check out our other ones, um, and if you're like, man, these are fun, also check out our playlist from our live stream. I post those up here. There's, usually a month after they go up, depending on when I remember to post them. Um, but if you're like, man, I like these short videos, these reviews. What if Tim and his friend, what if they talked for hours, or at least a couple of hours, about movies? And we do that over at our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Movie-Club Emporium. This month, however, we are doing Animals from Hell. We're going to each do our top 10 animal attack movies. That's going to be on the 27th, the last Saturday of the month. Um, and the reason we are doing that topic is because somebody in the comments suggested doing a blank from hell uh stream, and so we looked at what we were planning on talking about, kind of moved things around here and there, and now we got that. So hey, if you got an idea for a topic, now next week, uh full disclosure, I'm gonna be out of town, so there will be a new video because instead of getting to go to the theater, I'm going to finally get to review a movie that I didn't get to see in the theater. It's finally available for me to watch, and we're gonna kind of complete the hopefully the trifecta of horror movies in July, because I'm finally gonna get to talk about In a Violent Nature. I know there's a lot of division about this movie. I haven't seen any clips of it. I just the discourse between what some audience members have said and what some critics have said. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to share my thoughts about it with you. So make sure you join us next week for that. And then just around the corner is August. Now, I know August is a busy month. It's hot, gross, at least where I live in Oklahoma. It's disgusting. It's just hot and thick outside. It's disgusting. But it also means it's back to school time. So August, for our live stream, Nick and I are doing school related horror and action. But before school starts, you got to get in that family vacation. So August, all the month of August, uh, is going to be a theme month, and it's our summer block party we've been doing for the last few years, both here and our old channel on Facebook. This month is special because we are traveling out of the country, figuratively. We are taking a figurative, because I'm a giant introvert nerd who stays home and watches movies. We're taking an Italian vacation. So join me through August. Each week we'll be talking about wild and weird Italian horror film. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for everything else. Next week we're talking about In a Violent Nature, and until then, I'm going to go and try to get as much sleep as I can without thinking about Nicolas Cage's horrifying look at this movie. So it probably won't be a lot. So until then, just, you know, let's watch something funny. But go see Longlegs, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.